Russia's unemployment rate is currently around 2%. In economic terms, it's called simply a disaster. There have been reports of dozens of companies closing down due to the lack of employees. Yet, at the end of 2024, many Russian companies are laying people off in numbers. The companies simply can't afford highly paid employees. How is this possible? Massive layoffs with an unemployment rate of 2%. Let me explain you what's going on in Russia. Howdy everyone, my name is Konstantin. Welcome to Inside Russia, where usual Russia is explained by the unusual Russian. As usual, you will not hear any BS, propaganda, or lies here, but you will hear truth, common sense, and logic instead, and some emotions, because I'm a human being after all. This message will consist of 3 parts: the message itself, discussion in a live stream chat, and the prayer at the end. So let's talk about what the heck is going on in Russia. At Inside Russia, I talk of the transformation of Russia. This transformation has been going for 2.5 years. It's a huge transformation that involves everyone and everything in the country. But I find the most important transformations to be what's happening inside Russia's people's hearts and inside Russian economy. And I'll be talking about transformation of people of Russia, of people's souls, more in the following streams. I mean, that's a everlasting story. Now it's about the economy. And if you have followed Inside Russia, you more or less know that you are well informed. You know more about Russian economy than 99% of world's population. And I talk of very sophisticated economic concepts. That's very advanced information. Usually students study who get a master's degree, they study the concepts I talk about here. But today, it'll be different. It'll be very basic for a change. The reason I talk about the Russian economy so much, I find it the foundation of the country, not just Russia, but any country. The state of Russian economy defines how well people live and how efficient Russia can continue waging the war on Ukraine. An economy is easy in general. It is not rocket science. It's not magic. It's not alchemistry. Economics can be seen as the science that studies the always present trade-off between the benefits and the sacrifices that human beings have to face and compare when they are called to make decisions and act in economic areas. That's it. Economics is easy. It's the science based on cause and effect principle. You do something, you get certain result. You apply economic policy, you get certain result, economic result. Russia, although a regular economy, well studied, well understood, today has become a basket case. The authorities are behaving irrationally. And economics is all about acting rationally. So now Russia irrationally. They are applying mutually exclusive policies. People who are running Russian economy do not have the goal to strengthen country's economy, to make people's lives better. No, their goal is to follow the orders of the Tsar and enrich themselves in the process. So they create economic policies that have a very short lasting effect, but at the same time, they destroy the future of the economy. If to compare with a person, what's going on now is a person who has lost a job, jobless, no money, goes out to a bank and begs for a credit card at a very high interest rate. And he gets a credit card, takes cash out of it and spends it immediately. And then he doesn't really care what's going to happen tomorrow, week after, and the next month when the bill comes and he has to pay the debt off. No, that's pretty much what is happening in Russia. And that is not something that has started happening recently in the last months or in 2024. No, it's been going on for 2.5 years now. And today we are already seeing the effects of some actions that took 2 years ago. Well, most actions, really. I call these effects the economic tsunami. In a nutshell, Russian economy is not well, and I'm putting it very mildly. Now, let's zero in. Let's talk Turkey now. Russian economy has lost a great deal of its bread makers. Export revenues. At the same time, the expenses have high skyrocketed due to the war. At the same time, millions of people have left the country permanently, and hundreds of thousands of people have been killed or crippled in the front lines in the war. At the same time, the international community has turned away from Russia and placed economic sanctions upon it. So these are the main causes of Russia's problems, in a very simple, very primitive terms. Okay, that was a fast explanation. Now, let me take a sip of this wonderful English breakfast tea. I love it. I drink tea of two brands, Twinings and Taylor's at Harrogate. They come from England. Oh, it's the best. Absolute best. So anyway, before I move further, and after this sip of this tea, I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you again. Every time I go online, I thank you. Thank you so much for supporting. Thank you for watching this video right now. Thank you for liking it. If you haven't done so, please like it now. Thank you for commenting. Thank you for supporting through buymeacoffee.com, buying coffees. Thank you for becoming patrons. Thank you for PayPal. Thank you for your emails, for your wonderful words, encouragement, for prayers and your love. Prayers and love are priceless. Thank you so very much. In this hard time, it's much needed and very, very appreciated. So let's jump back to the message. So I just told you the reasons why Russia is not well. Now let's talk in a very nutshell of what we currently have in Russia. Number one, budget deficit is large and growing. Number two, there's a disbalance towards the war economy. Number three, real world inflation is close to 30%. Number four, the key interest rate is at 21%. The record high of all time in Russia. Mortgages start at 29% now. Personal loans start around 35%. Credit cards close to 50%. Annuity. That tells you of what's going on. Number five, unemployment is around 2%. So these five items, they pretty much explain the current state of where Russia is at. They are the key economic indicators. And this is what I want to talk about today. The catastrophical low unemployment. That's the last item in my list, number five. That's something that Vladimir Putin brags about a lot. I have heard him at least a dozen times saying that how wonderful Russian economy is performing and unemployment is in such a low number, 2%. Fantastic. The last time he said that was a few days ago. He bragged about there's virtually no unemployment among young programmers. And that is true. But is it good? Why? What are the reasons for this unemployment? Again, in very nutshell, millions of Russian people, mostly men, have left. Political reasons, they have left due to the war in Ukraine and due to risk of mobilization. That's different experts give different estimations. My estimation is around 3 million Russians have left in 2.5 years, and the number is growing. The second reason is people have been killed and crippled in the front lines. No one really talks about it. In Russia, it's a taboo. But hey, this is inside Russia, and I tell you the truth. Hundreds of thousands of Russian men have been killed and or crippled. And those who have left, they're mostly highly educated. They're successful, self-sufficient, self-confident. And those who have been taken, mobilized, or signed up and received sign-up bonuses and making lots of money, mostly uneducated people looking for a better life. I'm generalizing, but I think that's pretty close to the truth. There's a third problem, though, that no one really talks about as well. The third problem is in the 90s, Russia went through a period of high turbulence and great instability, and people simply stopped making babies. Childbirth rate dropped by a great deal. People were struggling financially, and people were unsure of the economic prospects. Kind of the same thing is going on right now, only now it's much, much worse, and there's war on top. So it's called the demographic hole in Russia. Basically, those who were born in the 90s have become adults and joined the workforce now, okay? But there's just not so many of them. So the three main problems. In the economy, it simply cannot grow at unemployment rate of 2%. There's just not enough people, not enough hands. And those people who are part of workforce, they demand higher salaries. And that's also cripples economic growth. Companies cannot find people and are forced to hunt for people by raising salaries. And then we've been seeing this for the past 2 years, I'd say. The effect of that is that many companies have already closed in Russia. I have heard of dozen cases already. For example, a dairy processing plant in the countryside in the Far East, a sewing factory in Rostov province, money truck manufacturer in the central Russia. They closed down because they simply cannot find employees. I'll just give you an example. Gloria Jeans, a very large Russian clothing manufacturer, has announced the closure of production in Rostov region, and that's where the company is from, and it's a local legend. It's Russia's biggest sewing company, cloth-making company, and it originated from Rostov, so it's closing its original factories. There are not enough trained workers in the industry to cover the needs of this company. There are only 2 higher education institutions, 2 universities in the country that train specialists for the industry, and that's it, just 2 for the country. Well, again, they close for one simple reason. not enough people. Unemployment is so low that it's just not enough people. Those who can work left or have been taken to the war. And the companies try to hire anyone they can. And when they get to the point where they can't hire any more people, they just close down. And closing down a factory for a business is kind of like death. So, and this is where the end of 2024 comes in. This is where it gets very interesting. You see, Russia has become a country where economic policies and economic trends are mutually exclusive often. And we are also seeing a mutually exclusive thing happening right now. On one hand, there are companies who can't find people. On the other hand, amazingly enough, we start seeing mass layoffs right now. No, I'm not making this up. No, I'm not crazy. Okay, this is happening. And it concerns mostly highly paid specialists now, the executives and IT specialists, the programmers. See, programmers have been in high demand all this time, 2.5 years, because for a programmer, it's the easiest thing to leave Russia. If you know how to program, you can work anywhere all over the world, and you can get out of Russia and just go to any country. Uzbekistan, rent an apartment, keep your job, and work remotely. And then tons of people have done that. At Tashkent Breakfast Club, we have dozens of computer programmers. IT specialists are probably the biggest category of Russians who have left. And there has been a fight, well, there was a fight in the past for programmers. The companies forbade large, good employers, forbade people to work remotely, so many people had to go back to Moscow. There've been a great hunt for programmers. And now, massive IT layoffs of IT specialists have begun, both in technology companies and in IT departments of companies of other industries, manufacturing, banks, airlines, and so forth. Companies do not disclose this information. They don't announce that they're making layoffs. It's how do we know that what's happening? Well, there's a certain category of people that has been ringing the bell, and that is IT recruitment companies. They have local industry publications, and they've started sharing this information there, and they've started going public. I mean, it's not forbidden information, okay? Companies don't want to disclose that because they're probably told not to, but, recruiters, hey, that's their bread, right? So one of the recruiters have pointed that this trend, what's going on in Russia right now, it's called the quiet layoffs or quiet cuts. And it's been going on smoothly, quietly but surely throughout 2024. But at the end of the year, we are seeing this process has intensified a great deal. No one is ready to put this information up to public. Well, yes, people are fired. Well, yes, the whole department is fired. Well, yes, the whole, this part of business has been cut. But this is not massive layoffs. It's just firings, that's what the companies say. And according to the industry experts, the IT recruiting industry experts, the cuts have become commonplace in the second half of 2024. Whole teams of programmers come to recruiters after they're laid off. There is a publication called Non-Digital Economy, and that's where I get my information from. and it writes a great deal on the cuts. December 11th, there was a big article about that. It attracted my attention. So basically, there are large companies that are doing layoffs. VK, MTS, Samolyot, Sber, and others. And they are among Russia's most successful companies. The reason why they are doing it is very simple. Russian economy is going to hell, down the drains. And the companies start feeling it. And the companies are running out of money. They are down to zero profits. And they go into savings mode. They cut expenses. I know it quite well, because it's about business strategy. And I was in charge of creating business strategy for my company, for my corporation, for years, decades. Let me give you an example how it was done in our company. We were constructing power plants. In early 2000s, we grew rapidly from a company of 100 people to a corporation of a few companies, a holding company of a few companies and a few thousand people. Okay, our core business was constructing power plants of different capacity, medium and large. And we also forayed into different businesses, other businesses. For example, the green energy, construction of gas piston power plants of small capacity, construction of solar power plants, construction of wind turbines, and so forth, And then as we grew, the need for people also grew. And the board of directors would meet every 6 months, and then we would discuss the strategy of development of the company for. We had two strategies, a long-term strategy and short-term. Long-term was for 5 years, short-term was for 6 months, following 6 months. And basically we would outline, we would get the results of previous 6 months, and then we compare them to the plan, and we would come up with a new strategy for the following 6 months. And everything was fine when economy was growing, when we were making lots of money. And I went through different periods of good periods, bad periods. So everything is fine. There's no need to fire anyone. Quite contrary, you hire as many people as you can. Because you have a lot of different departments come and say, hey, we have plans of such and such. We need people. But then there are bad times come. And as we see clearly in Russia, it's a time of very, very bad economy and very big economic problems. And all of a sudden you run out of money. And what the first thing you do is you assess your businesses, because usually you have different segments that you work on, business segments. For example, constructing large natural gas-fired power plants is one segment, the core segment. And then there's also power plants, solar power plants. That's a different segment. And there's turbine power plants. And there's gas piston biological gas-fired power plants. That's completely different. And then you usually have one product or a couple products that bring you 80% of money. It's called Pareto principle. 20-80. 20% of your business bring you 80% of your money, profits. And then the rest, 80%, bring 20%. But the thing is, in good times, you can't really just cut off parts of your business that are not profitable because you work for the future. You say, now I invest, in the next couple of years, I invest so much money into power plant construction, and then I get experience, I get portfolio of projects, and I become the leader of the market, or I get a big market share, and then I start making money. That's when you can afford it. When you can't, like now, at the end of 2024, the companies can't afford anything because everything is freaking falling apart. So now, at the board meeting, they get together and they start talking about how to eliminate businesses that don't make money, okay? They keep the core businesses, the core products working. For example, for us, the core product was the engineering department, installation department, the procurement department, engineering design department, those who were directly involved in constructing power plants. You fire them, you don't, you don't finish your product. That's not acceptable. But who you can fire is this solar power plant division. It's been hanging there for a couple of years, zero profits, future, well, now it's unclear. Let's just get rid of them, and you fire them, and you save in a lot of payroll. Same thing, you go to non-essential employees. Who cleans the office? Well, we have special people come cleaning. Well, you know what? Let's fire them, and we save money, and the employees will clean after themselves. That's going to be their new responsibility. Then you go to the IT department, says, okay, what are you guys doing? And they tell you, and then you say, okay, half of your people got to go because, I'm sorry, those who remain, they will work more. And then perhaps you increase their salary a little bit, but you still save on the payroll. Thank goodness it wasn't my job to fire people, but this is how it's done. And this is exactly what is happening at the end of 2024. The companies are assessing their business. The developers know that they're going to go. They're going to be bankrupt, okay? They're trying to sell as many apartments as possible until they go bust. And then they firing everyone of non-essential employees. Who they can't fire is people who still construct, finishing their projects, and people who sell. Those stay. Everyone else goes. Companies like VK, MTS, they have tons of different projects. And some of the projects work out, profitable, some not. But they're good for the future. Forget about the future. There's no future in Russia now. We only keep the essential personnel, those who are creating the product, our core product. Everyone else must go because we simply have no money to pay them. Our profitability has dropped tremendously. People, don't spend that much. There's a category of people who spend more, war profiteers, but they're just up to 20 million of them. And the rest, 120 million of Russians, they can't afford. They talk on the phone less. And it's costing us more because, 21%, the key interest rate, the money is very expensive. We can't afford to have people. We can't afford to have many projects. We scale down now. Not scale up, but scale down. This is the word of 2025, scaling down. Everyone and everything will be scaling down. And this is the result of the economic policies that were implemented 2.5 years ago. And that's what I've been talking about. The economic tsunami, this is one of the phases of this economic tsunami. This is it. This is it. This is another sign of crushing economy, the layoffs. And 2024 is just the beginning. We're going to see many more of them. I look at 2025 and I imagine how eventful it will be. Even now, at the end of 2024, we have tons of interesting news, so many that I have doubled news reports. Instead of doing them just on Friday, I do on Wednesday, tomorrow. Wacky Wednesday. Please tune in. Meanwhile, to stay on top of things Russia, I do 9 news. I select 9 news that I find important and I make them available to patrons every single day. 54 news a week, 9 news a day. If you want to stay on top of things in Russia, Russian economy, Russian society, Russian life, don't know where to look no further. Become patron of Inside Russia and find the news you won't find anywhere else. Not certainly not in the mainstream media. So thank you so very much. If you, again, I'm gonna put the links down below after the stream ends. Check it out. Become patron. And I hope you liked today's message. I invite everyone into a live stream chat. This is my most favorite time of any stream, when I turn the live stream chat on and it explodes with real people, questions, greetings, comments, love, and so forth. If you're here for the first time, please know that this community Inside Russia is the best one on internet, on YouTube. And that's because the members of the community are great and the moderation team is the best. They make sure that this community stays safe and pleasant. The moderators are Lorna, Mami K, Harry Partner, Bob S, Amir Fazat, and Dirk. Friends, thank you for coming back. Thank you for having my back covered. Fantastic to see everyone. And I'm reminding, if you want me to see the comments easier, your questions easier, please put them in all caps and put Inside Russia after @ so they appear highlighted in large orange box, just like Harry Partner did. Thank you, Harry. I appreciate it. Thank you. Hope everyone is doing well. So as usual, what do you think of my message today? Did you find it interesting? Please let me know. If you have found, like this live stream, give it a thumbs up. I appreciate it. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do so. You will find tons of interesting information in the following days, weeks, months, years, decades perhaps. Golden Griffon, good to see you. Golden Griffon's been a member of Inside Russia for as long as I can remember, for like 4 or 5 years. Terry, Pamela, Jodes, Mr. Kaliskin, Scott, Roy, Joe, Lektritz, Heid, Henke from the Netherlands, Aaron Cobb from Texas, Aaron, So and Hope It Grows, Maus the German, Guten Abend, long time no see. And there's a question from Lucas, or Lukas. Hi Konstantin, thank you again for your work. Have a nice evening. Thank you. It turned out to be not a question, but thank you so much, Lukas, or Lucas. Angela, Paul, Kermo from Finland, now retired IT expert. Good to hear from you. Thank you. Royal Oak, Pamtree Kate, Elena Arrington, howdy, howdy. Has it really been a full day since the last stream? That's how the day looked for me, Kate. I streamed, I slept, I went for breakfast, I came back, and I sat in front of the computer and I started getting ready for this stream. So, yes, it's been a full day, and I'm also amazed. Keith, all the way from Hawaii, howdy. Alexander A. from Mexico, Viva Mexico, thank you so much. Hola. Terry, Russian government want families to have more children. How will they afford to I don't know. It's one of those mystery questions to me. Terry, I have no clue. Russia it's become a basket case, I'm telling you. In many ways. They do two opposite things simultaneously and they want two different results. That's insanity. And you got it so right. How Russian families have more children if they can't afford them? I don't know. Dirk, howdy. Allison Marlowe from Florida. John MC. Andreas Benz. Dean Hugh, howdy. Thank you so much for nice words. Dean is from Los Angeles, California. Koshkin Dom, Wendy Grows, Hello, hello from Holland. Sending my love to Holland. Terry says, keep behaving or our mods will show you why. That's very true. Andreas, it's not clear when is live stream or not. It's always live stream, Andreas. It starts at the same time. Well, I'm usually late a few minutes at every stream, but not like 1 hour late. Fridays, I usually, perhaps Wednesdays and Fridays could be 1 hour later because the amount of news that I process is just tremendous. Takes me up to 16 hours to do 1 day of preparation. Well, not preparation, but including the stream, including the presentation. So to prepare and present, at on some days it took me 16 hours. Okay, so it's always live streaming. Ekwarg, what do you think of the assassination of the Russian general this morning? Well, I don't think much about it. The general was assassinated. That's a fact. There's nothing to think about. That's, what can I say? One thing I would comment though, there are rumors that in the Kremlin they're very scared because that's where the weak spot of the regime, personal safety. Because no one really cared much about, I mean, they all feel safe. The first early bird was the members, well, the employees of the central bank are allowed to carry personal weapons now for protection, and I take it that we're gonna be seeing more and more of that. Haji, what would be the benefit of all Assad clan relocating to Mariupol? Yeah. I just wish Assad was not in Russia. That's it. Go to Hague. Holland is a very nice place to live. Why don't you go and reside in the wonderful city of Hague? Quieton, what will Russia do to save its economy? Nothing. It can't save the economy. To save the economy, it's actually a very simple recipe. You need to stop the war. You need to stop war spendings. You need to stop paying Russians crazy amount of money for killing Ukrainians, for being in the front lines. That's got to stop. That's driving the inflation. That's, once you stop waging the war, you can start rebuilding economy with right economic policies. But there are a few steps to take to admit responsibility, to amend with Ukrainians somehow, to find a peaceful solution, to pay reparations. And I think only after that, Russia can somehow start rebuilding its economy, if of course, these crazy people are out of power. If not, then nothing can be saved. It cannot be saved. Carlos Enrique Salas, howdy. Just one question. Besides being economist, you're also an engineer in power plants. Greetings from Italy. I am not an engineer. I don't have an engineering degree. I did some post-degree education in the Moscow Energy Institute. I know how power plants work. I know different technologies. And just being in a company that builds power plants, being alongside the engineers, I've learned a great deal about pretty much power plant everything. I know how it works. I know what fuels are used, the technologies are used. I know a great deal about turbines. I know the process of constructing power plants and so forth. So I'm not an engineer, but I think I'm pretty close. Paul Venix, howdy. How are you personally feeling about seeing your country crumble? It must be hard to see. Paul, thank you for joining Inside Russia. One of the biggest topics that I always have is how tragic for me to see my country falling apart. It is a tragedy. because I love Russia. I love, it's my country, it's my culture, it's my language, my people. And I feel like people have betrayed me. They chewed me out and they spat me out, but they betrayed themselves and they keep on betraying themselves. They're destroying the country. And I feel I've become homeless. I mean, I have roof over my head and I have, I live in a nice place. It's warm and I don't starve, especially looking at the size of my face. But this is not home. This is not home for my children who go to school. I'm uprooted. And it's not a nice feeling. I'm feeling personally kind of devastated, and I'm feeling my country. I can't go back. I don't want to live with the people who are warmongers and who are doing this to a neighbor. So this is a tragedy. This is my personal tragedy. Pat O'Brien, greetings from Ireland. Howdy, howdy. Believe it or not, but there were times when I drank Guinness. Michelle Agnew, Constantine, how long did it take in the 80s to go to the full page of food allotment shown in your last thumbnail? Well, in the live stream yesterday, I actually spoke about just that. I remember asking my dad about butter cards, talony na masla, because I grew up with having butter coupons cards. I simply didn't know any life without them, and I asked my dad, "Dad, did you always have butter coupons? Because you go to a store, they wouldn't sell you 17 ounces of butter without coupon." And to my surprise, I thought that was always like that. I was a kid, I was 7 years old, and I thought that coupons for butter is a natural thing. And my dad seemed confused, and he said, it's a fairly fresh thing. They just introduced it like a year ago in 1983. So before that, no food coupons. Everything was available at the stores, more or less. And then butter, they started having problems with butter in the butter industry, in the milk industry. And then they introduced the coupons to limit the consumption. So 1983, 84, something like that. And I think it varied from city to city, from province to province. But then 1986, sugar. First, no coupons required, then 2 kilos per person or 4 pounds per person for about 6 months. And then they introduced coupons for sugar. Then for meat. Then for pasta. Then for... Anyway, in 1990, we had coupons for everything. For sugar, for salt, for meat, for fish, for dish detergent, for soap, for shampoo. You couldn't buy anything without coupons. But you could buy coupons themselves, black market for them. Usually they cost as much as product cost. So it took about 4 or 5 years from the beginning to complete disaster. And one of the first things, the positive things I remember, after the USSR collapsed, people were allowed to do business and they just flooded markets with products. They were expensive, they were not the best, but we had them available. We could buy them at any time without coupons. So hopefully I answered your question. KG1, good to see you. Where does the government raise money to pay for all the extra welfare? And also, how is their stock market doing? Well, Russian government, if you're talking about Russia, the stock market has fallen from 2,500 points to 2,000, under 2,000 points. So in a few days, it has lost 20%, which is disastrous, I'd say. And then where do they get money? They've completely run out of money. So a couple days ago, a few days ago actually, on the 26th of February, I'm sorry, I need to take a break and sip. It's wonderful tea. November 26th, Russian central bank started flooding money. I made a live stream called Russia Turns On Printing Press. Check it out. So basically, Russia's central bank issued loans in the amount of 1 trillion rubles to Russian commercial banks. Only with one condition. They would take that money, the loans from the central bank, and go to the Ministry of Finance and buy federal bonds for 1 trillion rubles. And then they use those bonds as collateral to the central bank. In other words, if they fail to pay off that money that they borrowed from the central bank, they simply pay by transferring government bonds. You see, that's a very sophisticated Ponzi scheme. Russian bank has issued 2 trillion rubles in this way. I talked about 1 trillion issued on the 26th of November. Well, since then, there was a second, what's in finance is called tranche, second stage of this, another 1 trillion rubles. And that's where they get the money. They have covered budget deficit with basically printing out 2 trillion rubles. That's gonna drive inflation even higher. Galloping inflation. That's what we're gonna see in Russia soon. Daniel, there has been so much talk about Putin being pushed out, but this does not seem to be really happening. Do you still believe this will actually happen anytime soon? I try not to believe anything. I try to forecast based on logic and common sense. A couple years ago, I had a gut feeling that Putin was going to be out by the end of the year. And I kept telling everyone, if you follow my channel, you still remember. I was saying, hey, I don't know what's going to happen, but I have a gut feeling Putin's going to be out of the office. It's the end of 2024, 2 years later, he's still in the office. I thought he was done when Yevgeny Prigozhin staged his mutiny, successful mutiny, June 2023. That was a very low moment for Vladimir Putin. And at that time, I thought it was done. I thought there will be others following Prigozhin because everyone saw how weak Putin was, how scared he was, and no one followed him, no one backed him up, no KGB, no army, no people. He was left alone. And basically, he outsmarted Yevgeny Prigozhin. And that guy is a genius at bouncing back. He bounced back to power, and now he's almighty powerful again. So, a lot of people were saying that, yes, he would be done soon, and there were reasons for that. And I said that too. But do I believe he's going to be done soon? No, I don't. I don't know. When I see the science, I will let you know. So please keep on tuning in and sign up to become patron because I'll be making the news available. And if you're a patron, you will see them the first. And they're going to be on Patreon. Tom Charles from South Carolina, howdy. Thomas Jonsson from Sweden, hello. Marie France, good to see you. Come on, Sava. Ron Brandavino from Australia. Thank you. I'm just not Mary, I'm Constantine, but I'll take it anyway. Philip Payne. What do you think those who are laid off will do? That's a very good question. I don't know. I think it's easier to find a job for programmers because it's usually programmers that are in higher demand. And they might even move out of Russia and then find jobs elsewhere. But those who are not programmers, executives, who highly paid executives or non-essential personnel, I feel sorry about those people because I don't know what they're gonna do. There are plenty of jobs available in the military-industrial complex at the factories. Are they gonna go to the factories and work there? I hope not. I don't think they will do. So we will see. Will they be forced to join the war to earn a living? No, they will not be forced. It's called voluntarily joining, but they will be tempted. Let's put it this way. Drawbridge 6. Um, Drawbridge 611. What scares me is the possibility of Putin's replacement being even more of a psychopath. Unlikely. Even, well, Putin was placed into his position, and I think his replacement will also be a product of the elites. He will be placed, and then his goal would be to make a deal with the West to be accepted back. And I think that that's what the Putin's replacement will be doing. So I think it'll be good. Um, D, how do we talk to people who vote for people who make us more dependent on Russia in a way that makes them listen? For you to figure out. I don't really know how to talk to people in Russia. I've tried and I'm trying. I keep on trying. Very hard. Extremely hard. Um, One advice I can give you is keep trying. Equarg, do you think there will be maritime consequences for the breakup if those two loaded oil transport river ships that broke up on the Black Sea? Um, I heard the rumor the third is having trouble. Well, maritime consequences. It is already a catastrophe. I just saw the news today that Russian beaches on the east side of the Sea of Azov are covered with uh, oil, oil and heating oil, and what can I say? This is. You're absolutely right. That those are river ships. They're not supposed to be in the sea, and this is what you get. This is Russia, Putin's Russia. That's what Putin has done. People are trying to cut corners to survive, and that's what it leads to catastrophes. Rogue Band, Troll Slayers. Judy Stedman, thank you so much. Merry Christmas to you. Wishing you all the best. Uh, this birth, whose birth? Christ? I think we're all celebrating. Merry Christmas to you all. Andrew Hodson from South Africa. Bob S. Did they have margarine in the 80s as a butter substitute? Oh, yes, they did, Bob. Yes, they did. We used margarine all the time. And I remember butter was like a luxury food, you know. It was ration inside our family. My grandma was like, don't eat too much butter, you know, we need it for cooking. But margarine, oh, yes, so plenty. And no one knew it's bad for you. Everyone, the government was selling it as a new magic food, you know, so much better than butter. Oh, I remember. I, by the way, cannot stand margarine since then. I hate its taste. I hate it. It's just like this. I won't. I'll be starving, but I won't touch margarine. Trish, thank you so much. Just one man's ego. Yes, not just one man's ego. The Russians are guilty as well. So, but thank you for a nice word. Guns and butter is a classic economics fundamental. Yes, you're right, Mr. G. Lily G. Howdy. Joni O. J. James. George. Why butter is so important in Russia? Well, butter is for cooking. It's like one of the food staples. That's why. Alfio Baldini. Does now NATO or individual countries have the right to fight with Ukraine side by side as North Koreans do? It's actually, look, Alfio, that's a question I've been asking myself, and I don't understand Russian logic. Let's say I've heard Russian politicians say, well, you know what? We have signed a military union with North Korea. It's none of anyone's business who fights where. We can use North Koreans anywhere we want in any way. We have a military union. It's just between us and North Korea. None of everyone's business. At the same time, they say completely different about the Ukraine. They say, well, you know what? No one can help Ukraine. No one can sign a military union with Ukraine. If someone fights with Ukraine, automatically it's a war with Russia. I don't understand the logic. There's none. What's good for the goose is good for the gander. No, not really, not in Russia. We can use North Koreans, but you can't use anyone else. Marie France, do you think that layoffs in IT sector and likely soon in others will trigger large immigration like in September 2022? Not as large. I can't imagine anything triggering such large exodus except from another mobilization. But I think that there will be more of people leaving Russia than they do now. Don't get me wrong. There are a lot of people leaving Russia even now. They join Breakfast Club all the time, like once a week, twice a week, perhaps new people come. So there's an immigration wave has been steady. Royal Oak, same feelings here in Brazil. Understood. Carlos, I also worked on the projects for power plants. You're a colleague of mine. Thank you so much. Aaron Sonex, it's not an answer to me, but George Rames. But the thing is, we don't use hydrolyzed vegetable oil. In Russia, very popular sunflower seed oil, but we don't use it. We try to use cook. We try to cook on butter because I believe that this hydrolyzed vegetable oil, seed oil, is not good for you. Not good for us. For you know, at least. Okay. All right, the last question, friends, and that's it. Scott Nesbitt, has anyone seen that Ukraine has made a laser weapon? Well, they have announced that they have a laser weapon. We'll see how it works. Luri Har, is that third tanker thing real? Well, I've heard of two tankers, and they're like incredibly, incredibly terrible because one was holding 4,000 metric tons of heating oil. So that's, I don't know what's happening with the third tanker, but two are bad enough. All right, friends, thank you so much for joining us today. This is my prayers list. I invite everyone to join me in prayer. Thank you so very much. Let's do it. Dear Lord Jesus Christ, thank you for everything you have given us. Thank you for food you've placed on our tables. Thank you for roofs you put over our hands. Thank you for the loved ones you've surrounded us with. Thank you for our families, for our children. Please give us wisdom to keep the skies above our children's heads safe and peaceful. Give us wisdom to raise our children in a way that when they grow up, they will make this world a better place and will be great people. For now, please keep our children healthy and safe. Dear Lord, please stop the bloodshed in Ukraine. Reach out and touch the hearts and souls of those who can stop and make them stop. Remind them they are still human beings. Please help every Ukrainian who has been affected by the terrible tragedy, answer their prayers, make their wishes come true. Help my country, Russia, assemble your strongest angels with sharpest swords. Have Saint Michael lead this army of yours. Send them down to this earth to get rid of the demons who have hijacked my country, who we know by their names and by their faces. Send your best angels to help Russian people run the country to make it peaceful, loving, and respecting. Please help everyone who is in high waters in danger right now. Please help those who are traveling, send them safe travels. Please help those who are seeking for refuge and asylum. Help those single mothers and fathers who are raising their children and struggling, trying to make ends meet. Please help those who are helping Ukrainians and Ukrainians who are currently under Russian attacks. Send them safety. Dear Lord, I'm asking you to help the ones in need, the ones who are sick, addicted, homeless, jobless, hungry, cold, depressed, crying, feeling betrayed, backstabbed, alone, lonely, losing their faith. Please help everyone in need. Reach out and touch their hearts, fill them with love. Let them know that you are with them, watching every step they take. You have not abandoned them, you still love them, and you will be with them forever. Please help everyone in need. Thank you so much for allowing us to assemble and pray here. Thank you for everyone who is praying with me, for all 3,600 people, and for everyone who's simply watching us pray. Answer everyone's prayer and make everyone's wish come true. Dear Lord, I want to ask for a few people who need your help. They are Denise Abbott, Renate, Janice Burgess, Derek Martinez, Ann Larson, her daughter Hannah, Jeffrey S. and his family, Katharina Holm, Alex, Mark, Tom W., J.R. McKim, Gabing with Gary, Lisa, Harry and his family, Terry, John, Linda, Paula W., Dennis, Jason, Susie, Tim, Dory, Rhonda, John, Taylor, Wayne, Dave, Don, Darla, George, Roberty, Pamela, Meta, Spencer, David Porter, Leif, Randolph, Grace, Dean Spooner and his church, Yelena, Natasha, Michael, Jake, Oля, Dasha, Sky, Svetlana, Sergey, Liz, Ron, Liz, Koshkin Dom, Sandra, Mike, Petra Olson, Joseph, Millie, Melissa, Jodes, Philip, Eileen, Highwayman, Victor, Pamela, and Holy with Jesus. Thank you so very much, dear Lord Jesus Christ. Amen. Friends, thank you for coming. Thank you for being with me and watching and listening my message. Please come back tomorrow for Wacky News, Wacky Wednesdays, and news, Wacky Wednesday news update. Plenty of Wacky Wednesdays. Talking too much. There's going to be plenty of news on this Wacky Wednesday. Thank you. You are awesome and you rock. And I would like to ask you to repeat after me as loud as you can before I sign off the following. Carthago delenda est.